religion. When I heard the words "love is my religion," I went to the other version of that song. I love that there are so many versions, so many different songs with that as the theme, right? You'd think that there was like only one of us or only one mind or something. And all of the artists who are in tune with that one mind are saying the same truth, which is that love is all there is. And if love is all there is, that means there's plenty of it, right? Anyone here ever felt unloved? The cool thing is, with consciousness, you can't go back to feeling that way. Do you ever think of it that way? You cannot be both conscious of truth and feel alone and unsupported and unloved. It doesn't work. And once you reach it once, it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody else will get this, but those favorite pair of pants that once you've stretched them to Thanksgiving Day size, they will never, ever go back to their original shape. I wear lots of stuff that are unstructured just so I don't have to work that hard. Your consciousness, once you have allowed truth into it, once you have gone deeper and shone the light into those places you think are unlovable, you can't go back. I suppose I should have warned our newbies about that before you joined. Sorry. Not sorry. So we're going to talk today about some of the somewhat misunderstood spiritual tools that we use. This month we're talking about a book called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwene Gaines. And the very first thing she talks about is the unbreakable and unavoidable law. And in her mind and the way she teaches it, it's tithing. Okay, how many of you just went, can I get out of here before she goes any further? Did I sit too far, like in the middle or towards the front for people to not notice? Is that why you guys all sat in the back? Did you know this was coming? Okay, so by definition, tithing is, and this is quoting Edwene Gaines, who doesn't mess around, you must tithe 10% of all you receive to the person, place, or institution where you have received your spiritual food. Okay, 9 times out of 10, when people ask me about tithing, is that on gross or is it on net? Does it have to be 10%? Why 10? I'm like, you haven't met me. I couldn't calculate 13.4 if my life depended on it. Although I do have a calculator in my phone now, so if you want to move up beyond 10, we'll let you. The amount is the least important part of this spiritual tool. Yes, there are physical needs within a physical building. Let's set that aside for now because that's not at all the interesting part about tithing. When you tithe, you are telling spirit, you are telling your own subconscious mind that whatever you're tithing to is important, and you want more of that in your life. Doesn't that sound more like you must tithe 10%? Sounds better to me. If I want more of something in my life, I put my time and my talent and my treasure into that thing. How many of you have children? And how many of you have gotten very, very used to the idea that you will be paying for their schooling or for their food before you can get a new set of golf clubs? You're tithing to their well-being. You're tithing to the love that is in your life because of them. How about grandchildren? Any grandparents in this room? Isn't it even more fun now that you've got the hang of it? Tithing to little kid giggles and those really cute clothes? I'd tithe to that. I love giving to my nieces and nephew. First couple years, I loved giving really, really loud toys to them because they live in New Hampshire. Funny how those batteries disappeared so quickly. We give to and we give joyfully to those things that create the sense of being loved in us. And so when I suggest to you that tithing is something you might want to try on, I'm not saying, like, we're not trying on that rather oddly colored dress in a store and let's try it on as a joke. I'm saying, because you deserve to feel loved, because you deserve to feel supported by something greater than you, I can tell you that this is a tool that works really well. The first time I tried power tools, I had Reverend Susan Swanson helping me and laughing a bit quietly when she thought I couldn't see her. But when you try a new tool on, I gotta tell you, a power drill is a hell of a lot easier than just taking out a screwdriver and trying to screw something into drywall. Have you ever noticed that? And that was a step up from grabbing my stapler off my desk to try and just pound it into the wall. When you get the right tool, there's actually a name for that. It's called blithwapping. Yes, that's a real word. When you get the right tools, when they are plugged into a power greater than yourself, things get easier. And you would think, by giving away 10% of my income, that I would be poorer for it. So I will tell you that when Edwina Gaines tells the story of learning how to tithe, she admits that for years she would read all the prosperity books and skip the part on tithing. I don't need that. They're just trying to get my money. And then she got desperate, basically. She was a single mother and had to feed her baby. She was already working 2 jobs. She couldn't work any harder or longer. And so she sat down, and she was raised Baptist, so she's pretty much memorized the Christian Bible. And the book flopped open to Malachi chapter 3, in which it says, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase this because there's lots of different translations, "Prove me now. Try this out," is what God is saying in this book. Try this out and see if I won't pour down blessings upon you in such a way that you won't have enough room for them. That's the actually it's the Judeo-Christian of the Bible, since Malachi is in what I was raised calling the Old Testament. That is supposedly the power of tithing. And she figured, okay, fine, try it once, but only for 6 months. Guess what? By the end of 6 months, her income had tripled. Tripled. Not because Prince Charming came in and rescued her. Okay, first of all, guys don't want to be stuck up on that horse. Because that's, the high horse. Get it? And most of the women I know would be more interested in the horse. I hang out with a lot of equestrians. Ooh, he's got a nice gait. Oh, yeah, you're nice too. It's a little mind-blowy at first. There was a very serious point to be made. She did it because Spirit conspired on her behalf. Or as we would say, Spirit supports its own expression. We are meant to walk around in this world feeling loved, feeling prosperous, feeling supported, feeling like we have work to do that's important and heart-filling, and we need to have that support from Spirit and something bigger than ourselves in order to go out and do that work. Here's my experience with tithing. And I'm going to talk about tithing as a community as well as tithing as a person. So just to let you know, I made the decision to tithe. And the first time I wrote the check, I was terrified because I knew I couldn't afford it. And because I knew that, the damn thing bounced. And by the time we were done, there was the original amount of the check and twice that in fees. Part of tithing that's really, really, really important is doing it from joy and bringing your common sense with you. Do not tithe your rent check. And for many people, starting at 10% may not be the best option. You might need to start at 3%. It's a good thing you have that calculator in your phone, huh? So you start where you feel like it's not going to have you homeless, but it feels like a little bit of a stretch. And your aim is 10%. Don't feel like you have to stop there, but 10% is easy to figure out. I decided to get into integrity with my money, and my money responded by getting into integrity with me. After I started making those decisions, first of all, a promotion that I was told I would not get was given to me, along with the raise. And they created the position to put me into, which if you've ever worked for county government, does not happen. It simply doesn't. I have found over the course of a few years that having dedicated myself, my time, talent, and treasure to this spiritual path, my life has taken some odd turns. The only effect on me that 2008 crash had was that I got a house. I didn't have anything to lose to start with. I gave most of it away because it was in my way. In my generation, I just read this weekend. Hold on to your seats for a second. The first Gen Xers received AARP cards 2 years ago. I am one of the older parts of Gen X. And when my sister got her AARP card a couple weeks ago, there were, well, you could have called it praying. God was said. Out of my generation, only 8% have saved enough to be on track for retirement. 8%. I just figured none of us were going to be able to retire. That made sense to me given that, our parents were all divorced and that takes care of all the money that they saved. And, the crash of 2008 pretty much wiped out their retirement, my parents. And so I really believed for a while there that there was no way I would ever be able to retire, which of course I take as job security. Gen X is the first generation to lose several retirement benefits the previous generations had taken for granted. It's the first generation that can no longer rely on employer pensions for a secure retirement. I cashed mine out. I had this lovely pension from the county of San Diego. And then I found out how unfunded it was by billions of dollars. So now it's a house. First generation unable to rely on full Social Security benefits, which are on track to be deleted in a time way off in the future that none of us need to worry about, according to the Social Security Administration in 2015's report. Okay, so who finds that depressing? Who finds that terrifying? I find it a chance for God to show off, because she will, because that's how my life works. I see that, and I also see the job I went into, ministry, as ministry is going away in its old form. I don't know that anyone else who graduated the year I did, other than Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, who was already a superstar, I don't know that anyone else made a living wage the first year. I know that none of them got a corner office with a window. Yes, that's how I describe it when I'm talking to my friends. Yeah, I ended up in the corner office. Got a lovely view. I moved here. All my mom cared about was whether I had health insurance. I'm like, I got a circle of practitioners. What more do you want? I ended up with a house. That house has doubled in value since I bought it. I ended up with a house that I have not paid a single mortgage payment on because there's an apartment attached to it. This is not oh cool me. I would normally not share these details of my finances because mostly people don't care. I attribute this to the practice of tithing. even when I think I can't afford it. I took a break for a few months because I was no longer tithing from joy. So I put myself on restriction, and it felt awful. I feel so rich when I write the tithe checks. I tithe because it works. This center is thriving. This center is growing in terms of property and property value. This center is at the very least holding steady with membership. And whether you know it or not, the newest numbers, they came out in April of this year, says that less than 20% of Americans attend church regularly. Less than 20%. There's a lot of people who say they have no religious affiliation, and then there's this other chunk that say they do. That doesn't mean they actually go to a church or center or synagogue or any of that. If you ask a minister from the big world, mainstream world, in 2017, between 100 and 200 churches on average closed per week. This center, when I came here, had paid for the building. You know, this building has never had a mortgage. It started with somebody donating either the land or the money for the land. I can't remember which one it is. Isn't it funny how somebody else just donated a full acre of land? Now, I want to be really clear. I'm not being especially blessed by God because I'm a good girl and I'm following the rules. Any more than if somebody is going through a hard time, they're being punished by some God that has counted up their demerits and decided it's time for a time out from joy. The truth is, I do this spiritual practice because I see how it works. And the more I put my time and energy into this place and this teaching, the more I see how well it works. Prosperity is a symptom of spiritual truth. It is not, and spiritual maturity, it is not what makes you spiritually mature. There are other practices, wonderful practices that heal us and work with us. Taking classes so that is not just so that you can tell me who Phineas Parkhurst Quimby was. I just like saying his name. Phineas is fun. It's more so that you will connect with the other people in your center who are of like mind and walking the spiritual path. I don't care if you can say, most of you, I don't care if you can say all 5 steps of treatment. You know, moaning, whining, complaining, denying, getting over it. Those ain't them, by the way. What I care about is that you have a deep connection with the divine within you, and you know who you are. The tools we use are meant to build something for us. A palace in which our consciousness is fed and loved and supported. Not so, we are all the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within us. And I want you to remember that the kingdom of heaven has no ghettos. There is no wrong side of the tracks in heaven. That is your birthright. It is what you were meant to do. It was what you were built to live from. If you don't feel like you're there yet, cool. We all have someone to play with. If you feel like you're there and you're recognizing how blessed you are, cool. We have someone to look up to. But we walk this path together because that too is a spiritual tool that we live. So take another look at tithing. I highly recommend you take another look at Edwene Gaines, whether you look her up on YouTube or listen to her through Audible or one of the other podcasts. These are tools. And when you plug them in and use them, they're amazing. Another tool we use is prayer. And I pray from here to remember to embody a consciousness of oneness. All of us are the divine. God is fully present here and now in this place and time. The divine is fully present in all of its glory as prosperity, as love, as power, and as peace. It is showing up fully as all of us. It shows up in the world as us and through us, using our hands to do its work. It shows up for us, supporting those things that we want to do to create the world that works for everyone. The spirit of love itself is fully present as us, and as we stand in the light of that absolute truth, that which we are and that which we are becoming is fully revealed to us. And we never ever again believe in the lie of being unloved or separate or alone or unsupported. I bless those truths. I claim those truths for all of us. I call them all good and very good, and so it is.